So we were on the capital structure theories, and we were on the theory number 1, which was meant to be the net income theory. So we had drawn a diagram on how it can be presented. So I simply want us to add some information on that diagram. We can add some more information on that diagram by summarizing that the theory concluded that there is optimal capital structure So the theory concluded that there is optimal capital structure where WSEC is minimum, where the WSEC is minimum, and the value of the company is maximum, and the value of the company is maximum, and the value of the company is maximum. Hence, the capital structure decisions, are relevant. Hence, the capital structure decisions are relevant. Hence, the capital structure decisions are relevant. The capital structure decisions are relevant. Then another paragraph, we write that according to this theory, the value of equity, of the unlevered or ungeared firm, So according to this theory, the value of equity of the unlevered or ungeared firm will be expressed as follows. So this is how to get the value of equity. Value of equity of unlevered firm. So to get value of equity for the unlevered firm, simply get earnings before interest and tax. Then 1 minus the tax rate divided by KE. So when you want to compute value of equity of the unlevered firm, you simply get earnings before interest and tax. Then 1 minus the tax rate. This is the cost of equity of unlevered firm. That denominator is the cost of equity of the unlevered firm. Then you also continue by noting that a new paragraph by summarizing that the value of equity of the levered or the geared firm. The value of equity of the levered or the geared firm, the value of equity of the levered or the geared firm is expressed as follows. Value of equity of the geared or the levered firm is expressed as follows. So value of equity of the levered firm will be equal to earnings before interest and tax. Subtract the interest, then 1 minus the tax, then divided by KEL. So KEL is the cost of equity of the levered firm. KEL is meant to be the cost of equity of the levered or the geared firm. Is the cost of equity of the levered or the geared firm. So that is now what we shall be able to do when it comes to computing the cost of equity of the levered farm. So now I want us to check some few questions in your past papers, which we can now be able to use. Which we can now be able to use to see how to calculate the cost of equity for the levered and also for the levered farm. So the first question I want you to check, there is a question for June 2008, question 2 part A. June 2008, there is a question number 2 part A. So I want you to go to page, should be page 108. When you go to page 108, you will get a question 108, you'll get a question for June 2008, question number 2, part A. So confirm June 2008, there is a question number 2, part A. There is a question number 2, part A. So that question 2A reads that the following extract of the balance sheet of Mapato Limited shows the capital structure of the company. It shows the capital structure of the company as at 31st December 2007. The ordinary share capital, the bar value has been given as 125. That total amount is 62.5 million. Reserves is also given. Shareholders' equity has also been provided. So long-term liability, there is a 14% debenture stock. The bar value is 500. Total amount is 118,500. They have also given you capital employed. So the management of the company considers the above capital structure to be optimal. The above capital structure to be optimal. So additional information, note number 1. The company's earnings before interest and tax, it averaged 75 million per annum. These earnings are expected to be maintained in the foreseeable future. When you go to the next page, note number 2, the ordinary shares of the debentures is shillings 400 per share. Note number 3, the market price of the debenture is 525 per debenture. Note number 4, the corporate tax rate is 30%, so required using the net income approach. That's the same as the net income theory. Using the net income approach or the net income theory, incorporating the tax, calculate the company's Roman letter 1, cost of equity, Roman letter 2, after tax cost of the debt. That is market value weighted. Also market weighted average cost of capital. So starting with the Roman letter 1, they want you to get the cost of equity. Remember, in this question, this company is levered. It has both equity and debt. So we shall be looking at this item, the cost of equity for the levered farm, because they want you to get the cost of equity. So we make KEL to be the subject. We make KEL to be the subject because they are asking for the cost of equity. For that Roman letter 1, they would like you to get the cost of equity. So to get the cost of equity, and that company is levered, we make KEL to be the subject from this equation. So KEL, when you make it to be the subject, it will be the same as earnings before interest and tax. We subtract interest, then 1 minus the corporate tax. Then we divide by the value of equity. We divide by the value of equity, but we shall be able to show it as a percentage. But we shall be able to show that item as a percentage. We shall be able to show that item as percentage. So we compute interest, we calculate interest, we compute the interest. So interest will be 14%. You get 14%. 118. The debenture is 118,500. There is 3 zeros at the top. That's why I'm making it 118.5. So what should be 14% of that? Yes, 16.59 millions. So we also need to get the value of equity. So to get the value of equity, simply get the number of the ordinary shares. Number of the ordinary shares multiplied by the current market price. Current market price. So when you want to get the value of equity, simply get the number of the ordinary shares multiplied by the current market price. So number of the ordinary shares, you can see they gave you 62.5 millions. 62.5 millions. The bar value has been given as 125. The bar value has been given as 125. Then market price per share, it is in the note number 2. You see, that's not number 2 should read that the ordinary shares, the ordinary share is that part of the debenture you rub it. It should read that the ordinary share, the price of the ordinary share, the price of the ordinary share, for example, it should be the market price of the ordinary share is 400 per share. That sentence should read that. That's not number 2. There is a mistake there. It should read that the market price of the ordinary share is 400 per share. Is 400 per share. So multiplied by the 400 so that we get the value for equity. We multiplied by the 400 so that we get the value for equity. So that we come up with the value for equity. It will give us around how much? It will give you 200 million. So now we can get our KEL. So earnings before interest and tax is given. Earnings before interest and tax is given in the note number 1. They gave you 75 millions. Now you subtract interest, which is 16.59 millions. So we tax. Corporate tax rate was given us 30% is the market. Then divide by value of equity, which is now express it as. That now should give you the cost of equity. So online you are getting which figure? $20.44. Yeah, they are saying it is 20.44. So we go to the Roman letter 2. We go to the Roman letter 2. Roman letter 2, you are to compute the after-tax cost of the debt. So that debenture is irredeemable. So the Roman letter 2, they would like you to calculate the cost of the debt, the same as the cost of the debenture. So that Roman letter 2 So that Roman letter 2, you want to calculate the cost of the debenture. So the cost of the debt for this question is the same as the cost of the debenture. Cost of the debenture. So that debenture is irredeemable. That debenture is irredeemable. KD will be equal to interest, then 1 minus the corporate taxes divided by the current value of the debenture, we less the flotation cost. Then we are meant to express it as a percentage. Remember, it is interest per annum. So per debenture. So we start by computing the interest. So interest will be 14% of the bar value. 14% of the bar value. The bar value is 500. 14% of the bar value, and the bar value was given as 500 in the capital structure. When you check through the capital structure, long-term liability, there is a 14% debenture stock. The bar value is 500. So what will be 14% of 500? Yes, 75. Then the current value for the debenture is given. Yeah. This one is 70. Then now, when you check in the note number 3, the market price of the debenture is valued at 5. The note number 3 is 525, isn't it? Yeah, so there was no flotation cost. Okay, now you take the interest, which is 21 minus 0.3, divided by the current value for the debenture, which is 525. There was no flotation cost. Express it as a percentage. So now we go to the Roman letter 3, the market weighted average cost of capital. Market weighted average cost of capital. So we compute market weighted. So WSC weight of equity, cost of equity for the bad, weight of the KD. Get the WSC, we get the weight of equity, cost of equity for the river farm, we add weight of the debt, KD, which must always be after the tax. So first we get the total market value. We get the total market value. So to get the total market value, we start off with equity. So we have already calculated that, where we took the number of the ordinary shares, divided by the bar value, multiplied by the current market price. Remember, when you are taking 62.5 million, we divided by 125. we had multiplied by 400. Remember that figure gave us. So it gave you 200 millions. So we go to the debt or debenture. So we also need to get market value of the debentures. To get the market value for the debentures, also take 118.5 millions. The bar value is 5. Multiplied by the current market price, which was 5. Exactly 124.43. 425. When you add them together, they will give us a total of 324. So now our W is weight for equity will be 200 millions divided by the total 324.25. So what was our Roman letter 1? The cost of equity for the delivered farm. It was 20.1. 20.4. Then the weight for the debt. We take 124.425 millions. Also applied. So KD, cost of the debt, you got 9.9. So it was already after tax. Don't tax it again. So just get that total. Now give us the WCC. Just get that total. Now give us the WCC. So what are we getting as the WSEC? So the next question we can now refer to, I want you to check May 2019, question 3, part B. Check May 2019, question number 3, part B. May 2019, question number 3, part B. So go to May 2019, question number 3, part B. May 2019, question number 3, part B. Check May 2019, question number 3, part B. Question 3, part B. Mine is on page 41. When you go through that question number 3, part B, the question number 3, part B, it reads that Somolo Limited is a firm operating in the manufacturing industry. Somolo Limited is a firm operating in the manufacturing industry. The firm's current capital structure is given as follows. Ordinary share capital, the bar value is 10, total amount is 80 millions. Reserves is given 10% irredeemable debenture capital is given, 8% preference share capital has been given. Additional information, the current market price per share for the firm ordinary share is 34.8 cum dividend. So that means it has included the dividend. The firm adopts 60% dividend payout ratio. The most recent earning per share of the firm is 8. The historical dividend per share over the last 4 years are given as follows. Then they were able to say that the firm management is contemplating to invest in a project which will cost 40 million. The project is expected to generate 9 million each year in perpetuity. Note number 6. The project has an estimated beta of 1.5. Return on the well-diversified market portfolio is 18. Then the debentures are considered to be risk-free and are valued at par. 8% irredeemable preference share are currently trading at 25 each. The corporate tax rate was 30%, so required. Roman letter 1, they were asking to calculate the firm's return on equity using the Gordon growth approximation method. So Gordon is simply those methods of computing the constant growth rate. There were 2 of them, compounding method and retention ratio method. So that question is testing those 2 methods. That question is testing those 2 methods. We shall first calculate the growth rate using the compounding method. Then we repeat the same using the retention ratio method. But where now you make the return on equity to be the subject. Then Roman letter 2, the firm's existing WSEC. Then also, so we shall not do the Roman letter 3 because we have not got, but I'll just give you the formula for that. So we start off with the Roman letter 1, how to get the return on equity. Gordon is basically those 2 methods of estimating the constant growth rate. Gordon is simply those 2 methods of estimating the constant growth rate. So we are going to apply both of them. That part was testing the 2 methods. So you start with the compounding method. You start with the compounding method, whereby P is supposed to be given by N. So Dn divided by Do, then you subtract 1. So you go to the note number 4. You go to the note number 4, whereby 2015 will be Do. 2015 will be Do. 2016 will be D1. 2017 D2. 2018 will be D3, which means N will be 3. So G will be 3, and D3 divided by DO, then you subtract 1. So that means our G will be. So D3 is the dividend per share in the year 2018. We are able to see 4.8. Then DO is the dividend per share in the year 2015, which is 4.0. So get that constant growth rate. And remember to express it as a percentage. Get that constant growth rate and remember to express it as a percentage. So should give me around 1%. When you compute, you are getting which percent? 6.37. 27. Yeah, so this was compounding method. This one was the compounding method. That one was the compounding method. So after the compounding method, we use now the retention ratio method. We also compound using the retention ratio method. We also confirm using the retention ratio method. So under the retention ratio method, G is supposed to be given by R mod by the return on equity. When you are using the retention ratio method, G is supposed to be given by R mod by the return on equity. So you make return on equity to be the subject. Make the return on equity to be the subject, which will be given by G divided by R. Be given by G divided by R. So G, you have said it is which 6 point what? So 6.27 is the same as 0.062. R is the retention ratio. So they have given you dividend payout ratio. Are you able to see somewhere the dividend payout ratio? In the note number 2, the firm adopts 60% dividend payout ratio. So if they pay out 60%, they retain which percent? Yeah, so our retention ratio will be 14%. So 40% is the same as 0.4. 40% of 0.4. So get that return on equity, and the final answer, we should also express it as a percentage. The final answer, we should also be able to express it as a percentage. What should be now our return on equity when you express it as a percentage? 15.675. So that was your Roman letter 1. They were simply asking you about those two methods of calculating the constant growth rate. You first use the compounding method to get the growth rate, then you put the retention ratio method, make the return on equity to be the subject. Because now you already have the G, and the question had given you the retention ratio. So we go to the Roman letter 2. We now go to the Roman letter 2. We go to the Roman letter 2. Now go to the Roman. So when it comes to the Roman letter 2, the question had asked you to get the firm's existing weighted average cost of capital. So we start by calculating the cost of the ordinary share. Remember, when you compute WSEC, there is no retained earnings. There is normally no retained earnings. Retained earnings is there when you calculate the weighted marginal cost of capital. But WSEC, we don't normally have the retained earnings. So we start with calculating the cost of the ordinary share. Start off by computing the cost of the ordinary share. Start off by computing the cost of the ordinary share, whereby KE given by T4 1 plus G divided by T4, then minus the quantity. Then we add G that one. So our DO, remember, is the one for the year 2020. DO we say is the last dividend paid, which is 2018. So 2018 dividend per share was given as 4.8. Then 1 plus G. So the constant growth rate we have said it was 6.27. So that's the same as 0.06. Divide by PO. PO is the current market price, but it was cum dividend. You see the note number 1. Cum dividend means it has included dividend. We use X dividend. So to get our PO, we get the one which is X dividend. So you get X dividend. X dividend market price. So to get X dividend market price, the question gave you cum dividend, which was at 4.8. You subtract the dividend in the note number 4. We use the current dividend, which was 4.8. It was 4.80. So that means we shall be left with how much? But so the question had no quotation. The question had no quotation. And it expressed as a percent. So now we go to the cost of the preference share. We should also compute now the cost of the preference share. Now also the cost of the preference share. So to get the cost of the preference share, cost of the preference share, cost of the preference share. Cost of the preference share is the same as KB. Remember, it was D or minus the quotation. Then we express it as a percentage. Then we express it as a percent. So we first compute the dividend. First come up with the dividend. So dividend, the dividend, we go to the note number 9. Existing 8% irredeemable preference share are currently trading at how much? 25 shillings. Then when you check up there, they gave you the bar value as 20 shillings. So dividend gets 8%. 8% of 20. Dividend gets 8% of 20. So what should be 8% of 20? It's 101 point. So our PO is given. It is currently trading at, in the note number 9. It is currently trading at 25. It is currently trading at 25. So there was no rotation cost that were given. So just get our KB. So KB now with 1.6 divided by 25, there is no rotation. Then express that item as so that one is giving us what value? 6.4. So we also compute the cost of the debenture. So that debenture is irredeemable. Also compute the cost of the debenture, which is irredeemable. Also come up with the cost of the debenture, which is irredeemable. So to get the cost of the debenture, calculate the cost of the debenture. So that debenture is irredeemable. AD will be equal to interest, then 1 minus the corporate tax. Current value for the debenture minus the flotation cost. Then we express it as a percentage. We express it as a percentage. So interest is calculated on the bar value. Interest is calculated on bar value, where you check, where you will be able to check where they have given in the capital store. So it is 10%. 10% of 100. So 10% of 100 will be the 7. Then the current value for the debenture. The current value for the debenture is also given. So I would like you to go to the note number 8. Debentures are considered to be risk-free and they are valued at what? At par. You see that? So it means the current value of the debenture is the same as the bar value. So the current value of the debenture is the same as the bar value. So now to compute our KD, interest is 10. And 1 minus the corporate tax. The current value for the debenture is 100. There is no rotation cost. Then express it as a percentage. to be able to give us around which 7%. So now from there we get the total market value to get the WSC. We need to get the total market value for us to come up with the WSC. We get the total market value. Come up with the total market value. Get the WSC. The total market value, get the WSC. So total market value. We start with equity. Equity is the ordinary share. Equity. Ordinary share. So take 80 millions. Divide by the bar value, which is 10. You remember the current market price, which is ex-dividend. We calculated, we got how much? It was 30. Remember the ex-dividend market price. We use the ex-dividend market price. So we compute and see the figure we get that. It's giving us 240 million. So we also do the same for the preference shares. So this question had preference shares. So for the preference share, you also take what is given as 20 million. The bar value is 20 multiplied by the current market price, either not number 9. They were currently trading at 25. They were currently trading at 25. That one should give us, to give you 25. We also include the debenture. So for the debentures, we also get there, but the debenture will just remain the same because it is 30 millions divided by 100, but they are also trading at what? At par. So they were currently trading at par. So it will not change, just remain part. So you add them together. Add them together. Count it out. So it gets to 95. So now our WS will be weight of equity, cost of equity, weight of the preference share. After. So our WSC weight for equity, you take 240 millions, right, by the total 295 millions. So KE is the cost of equity. What was the cost for the ordinary share? You calculated, we got 8%. Right, points. Then the weight for the preference shares, take 25 million, also divide by 2. So this one you multiply by what? 6.4. Also 30 million, also divided. Okay, the 47%. Yeah, so it was already after tax, so we don't tax it. So that should give you the weighted average cost of capital. The weighted average cost of capital. So that should be able to give you the weighted average cost of capital. So I would also like us to answer the Roman letter 3, even though it is not part of this topic, how to get the risk-adjusted discounting rate. It will be under the methods of dealing with risk. We shall be under the methods of dealing with the risk, but now we can just calculate it because you are using it to get the discounting rate. So when you compute that discounting rate, you just use CAPM. You just use CAPM. We have been seeing how to apply CAPM to get the cost of equity. So you want to get the discounting rate. That Roman letter 3, they want you to calculate the adjusted. They want you to calculate the project's risk-adjusted discounting rate. So to compute the discounting rate, get the discounting rate, we simply be the risk-free rate plus in brackets expected return for the market minus the risk-free rate multiplied by the beta factor of equity. This was the equation for CAPM. It was the equation for CAPM. So you just apply that equation for CAPM. So risk-free rate is there in the note number 8. When you go to the note number 8, they say that debentures are considered to be risk-free, and they are valued at what? At par. So when it is risk-free, it means the interest rate of the debenture will be representing the risk-free rate. When the security is risk-free, it is interest rate will be representing the risk-free rate. So maybe you can make a note on that. You can make a note that if the security is risk-free, if the security is risk-free, if the security is risk-free, then it is interest rate. Then it is interest rate will represent the risk-free rate. Then it is interest rate will represent the risk-free rate. Will represent the risk-free rate. So that interest rate is the cost of the debenture. Are you able to see 10%? So our risk-free rate is 10%. That's the interest rate. Then expected return for the market was given to you in the note number 7. When you go to the note 7, they have said that the return from a well-diversified market portfolio is 18, also minus 10. So that beta factor for equity is also given to you in the note number 6, where they say that the project has an estimated beta of 1.1. Yeah, so that should give you the discounting rate or the cost of capital when we are using that risk-adjusted discounting rate. The risk-adjusted discounting rate. So after that, now we go to the theory number 2. That was the theory number 1. Net income. The theories of the capital structure. So we got the the theory number 2. We got the theory number 2. Theory number 2 will be net operating income theory. We go now to the theory number 2 as the net operating income theory. The net operating income theory. The net operating income theory. Net operating income theory. So under the net operating income theory, we write that under this theory, comma, the capital structure is irrelevant. Under this theory, comma, the capital structure is irrelevant. Under this theory, comma, the capital structure is irrelevant. Since it will not affect the value of the company and the WSEC, since it will not affect the value of the company and the WSEC. It will not affect the value of the company and the WSEC. It will not affect the value of the company and the WSEC. Then another paragraph, we continue by writing that in its initial investigation, the theory operated under the following assumptions. In its initial investigation, the theory operated under the following assumptions as summarized in the diagram below. In its initial investigation, the theory operated under the following assumptions as summarized in the diagram below. In its initial investigation, the theory operated under the following assumptions as summarized in the diagram below. Summarized in the Remember, this is the cost of the debt. This is the cost of equity for unlevered. The other one is the cost of equity for the levered. The cost of equity for the levered. We can now add there a paragraph by summarizing that according to this theory, comma, cost of equity is affected. According to this theory, cost of equity is affected. Cost of equity is affected by both the financial risk and the business risk. According to this theory, the cost of equity is affected by both financial risk and business risk. The cost of equity is affected by both financial risk and business risk. Then you continue by writing that as the leverage increase, comma, the equity shareholders will demand higher returns. The equity shareholders will demand higher returns. The equity shareholders will demand higher returns in order to be compensated for the increased financial risk. Then another paragraph is that since the equity shareholders are well compensated, for the increased financial risk. Since the equity shareholders are well compensated for the increased financial risk, their perception about the company did not change. Leading to the conclusion that the capital structure is irrelevant. Leading to the conclusion that the capital structure is irrelevant. Then we continue by writing that therefore there is a contradiction between net income theory and net operating income theory. This conflict was resolved. Branco Modigliani and in their new theory known as MM proposition. So MM simply refer to Modigliani and Miller. At MM is simply referring to Modigliani and Miller. So you can now have as a topic as MM proposition. We can now have a brief subtopic as MM proposition. MM proposition. So when it comes to MM proposition, we summarize it. MM in their first proposition, they dealt with the value of the company. MM in their first proposition, they dealt with the value of the company. They dealt with the value of the company, and they concluded that, there are no two identical companies. They concluded that there are no two identical companies. There are no two identical companies which can attract the different values. There are no two identical companies which can attract different values. There are not identical companies which can attract different values. Simply because one company is levered and the other company is unlevered. Simply because one company is levered and the other company is unlevered. Simply because one company is levered and the other company is unlevered. Then another paragraph is that MM argued that if the two companies attract different values, MM argued that if the two companies attract different values, if the two companies attract different values, then the investor will practice. The investor will practice arbitrage. The investor practice arbitrage process. Will practice the arbitrage process. Will practice the arbitrage process to restore the value of the two companies to equilibrium. To restore the value of the two companies to equilibrium. To restore the values of the two companies to equilibrium. To restore the values of the two companies to equilibrium. Then another paragraph, he writes that arbitrage process operates under the following assumptions. Arbitrage process operates under the following assumptions. The arbitrage process operates under the following assumptions. It operates under the following assumptions. Number one is that there is a perfect and efficient capital market. Number one is that there is a perfect and efficient capital market. There is a perfect and efficient capital market. There is a perfect and efficient capital market. Number two is that both individuals and the companies, both the individuals and the companies can borrow or and lend out. They can borrow and lend out. They can borrow and lend out any amount of money. They can borrow and lend out any amount of money, at the risk-free rate. Both individuals and the companies can borrow and lend out any amount of money at the risk-free rate. And finally, number three is that the corporate borrowing the corporate borrowing has the same financial effect. The corporate borrowing has the same financial effect. It has the same financial effect on the individual investor. Have the same financial effect on the individual investor. Has the same financial effect on the individual investor. The individual investor. The individual investor. As the individual borrowing. Individual investor as individual borrowing. As the individual borrowing. Then another paragraph we write that under these assumptions, the arbitrage process operates as follows. Under these assumptions, the arbitrage process operates as follows. Under these assumptions, the arbitrage process operates as follows. So step number one is that the investor will sell his ownership. The investor will sell his ownership. The investor will sell his ownership in the overvalued company. The investor will sell his ownership in the overvalued company, and realize the benefit, Then step number two is that the investor will then borrow on the personal account. The investor will then borrow on the personal account. The investor will then borrow on the personal account. On the personal account, the amount equivalent to his percentage of ownership. The amount equivalent to his percentage of ownership. The amount equivalent to his percentage of ownership multiplied by amount of the debts, multiplied by amount of the debts in the company's capital structure, multiplied by amount of the debts in the company's capital structure, multiplied by the amount of the debts in the company's capital structure. Then step number three is that the investor will then make a comparison. The investor will then make a comparison. Of the proposed income. A comparison of the proposed income from the new company. And the current income in the current company, and the current income in the current company, and the current income in the current company, the current income in the current company. And finally, the step number four is that the investor will then invest in the company. The investor will then invest in the company. The investor will then invest in the company where his returns are maximum. Step number four is that the investor will then invest in the company where his returns are maximum. Will then invest in the company where his returns are maximum. So we shall be looking at the question for November 2017. Question number 4, part B. November 2017, question number 4, part B. So we stop there for now. When we meet now in the next class, we shall be able to do that question. When we now meet in the next class, we shall be able to do that question. So let us stop there for now.